Welcome to the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. Here, we believe leadership isn't just about titles. It's about how you show up in every aspect of life. Whether you're leading a business, building a legacy as an entrepreneur, guiding your family, or striving to lead yourself first, this podcast is for you. Join us as we dive into real conversations about growth, decision-making, and the courage it takes to lead with purpose. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to become the limitless leader you are meant to be. This is Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. Let's lead without limits. All right, here we go. This is Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. And today, I know I say this once in a while, but this guy is one of the, everything aside, one of the best people I have ever met in my life. And just the way he cares about people, his energy, who he is, the way the people he surrounds himself with. His name's Aaron Eggert, and I met him. I'm going to give you a little background here just to introduce him. And I'll tell you this, I can't do the due diligence for him to do his intro because of who he is. And you'll find that out over the next hour. But I met him through Coalition 9 is what it is. And it's a group of like-minded people. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but just the brief overview of it is he brings leaders together right now, just in Minnesota, I believe. And I want to make sure I have that right and could expand over time. And I would love to hear the number of how many people and what have you. But before I really get into that, just the way he talks, we had breakfast, gosh, it's been about 6 months ago now. And just the way he lit up when he was talking about his wife, Tiffany, and how much she has helped him in his life and what she means to him. And I did not know he had a dog, Ori. And then the hobby farm. Yeah, he loves hunting. I just found that out that fall and not Christmas, but fall and winter are some of the best times for him because this is funny to me, he raises chickens and pheasants and fruit trees and has a huge garden. So he's a garden guy too. And then the family cabin. So the hobby farms in Lesser Prairies from here in Minnesota, born and raised in Hugo. And one thing I loved that you said this, because this is something I wherever you fall on this, I love that you said this, that you were in college for a year, but you left. I don't even want to say dropped out because that's not it. It just wasn't your thing. And as successful as you are now is a true testament of who you are as a person, your work ethic, what you do, how you do it, all those things. And it shows that it doesn't have to just be a one size fits all type of thing. So yeah, thank you so much for being on here. So
pumped to be on the show, Brent. We are like-minded people, and you'll be on my show someday. But at the end of the day, I have the same feelings towards you, and we had an instant connection when we met, and I'm just honored that you asked me to be a part of your journey here and a part of your show.
I love it, man. And to be able to even help you and who you are and what have you. So let's start there. Tell me, if you will, just about you, how kind of the evolution of Aaron, I guess, if you will, to where you are now. How did you get to that point? Obviously we don't have to go deep into it right off the bat, but just trials, tribulations, what went really well? How'd you make that decision? All those things that go with it.
Yeah, so so thank you again. Well, I'll go back a little bit further than college because it kind of helps, paint a little bit of a picture. So I grew up in the Hugo area, northeastern suburb of the Twin Cities, east side, and so I grew up in a middle class family. It was not bad. It was great. I had a dad. My dad passed away a couple years ago, but my dad was in printing. He ran a printing press for many years, and retired in his early 60s. My mom, when I was a kid, she was an office manager at a small company down in St. Paul, and which is really cool. About the time that I hit my professional journey, my mom actually hit her professional journey, and she eventually became the CEO of a pretty good sized nonprofit that's associated with the University of Minnesota, the Minnesota Horticultural Society. And so she's got a big background in finance, and she was just able to use that to right size that ship and take that and move that forward. So, but as I was growing up, college really wasn't in my future. My parents never really said you have to go to college. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing was that they just didn't want me to screw anything up. And I was an average student. I didn't care about grades. I was a B student only because I had a lot of gyms. And so like I cared about sports way more than I cared about English, Spanish. There was, gym and then economics. I was really good at economics, and I was really good at all the outdoors related courses, kind of what you alluded to my outdoorsy type things. And so I thought, well, I'll go get my generals and I'll just get some things kind of figured out. And no, I went to college for a year, being generous, for a year. I went to college for a couple months and then decided that a structured environment of learning that isn't hands-on was not for me. So then I tried going to community college for printing, because my dad was in that. And I didn't like that either. I just didn't like any type of school or anything. And I needed to figure out on my own. And I think as we get into the story a little bit and in my journey, I think that's kind of indicative, is that I just got to screw up a few times to be able to figure some things out. And so I did that, finished. I did quit that school. I don't think I'm in, community college. I don't think you can drop out of. I think you either just do it or you don't. And so I quit that. I was like, done. And then did a couple years of working in the printing industry. I found out pretty early also too that I got a huge problem with authority. I mean, something in my brain, if you remember the Water Boy, when he talks about the medulla oblongata in the alligator, they get all pissed off. I get pissed off when people tell me what to do. And so I needed to get out of there, and I needed to do something where I had more freedom, and sales was my thing. And so I got into sales in my early 20s and crushed it, selling office interiors and selling contracts to big corporations and stuff like that. And that kind of started my professional journey from there. I mean, I'm like you. I'm a sales guy at the core. I love the art of sales. It is a craft. It is an art. It is not a job, and it is a lifestyle. And to me, it really went all in on sales in my 20s, and that's what kind of projected me into my next stage of getting into leadership and eventually entrepreneurship.
I got to ask you about that right there that you just said about sales, because so many get into it, yet it's something that they're just in.
Yeah.
And the way you speak to it is, I embraced it, I accepted it, and it's, again, it goes back to what you look for, you find. So if you look for, or you can go, you know what, I'm really good at this. How?
Yeah, I think so you kind of get shaped around the people that you surround yourself with. And so, I was a young 20 something kid, right? First sales job, college dropout, all of those things. And I didn't really have any mentorship in my life around sales. I mean, like I said, my mom was an office manager. My dad was a laborer and worked and ran a printing press.
Yeah.
And so you look at those dynamics. I just didn't have anybody that knew sales. And then I meet this guy, Joe Bulow, who was my sales manager, who hired me. And he's an ex-3M guy, worked 3M for 30 years. And he retired from 3M, and then he went, and this was his second stage of his career, role. And so he was probably in his 60s, probably 60s, mid 60s. And he was integral in my growth of teaching me the things that he knew that I hated learning the conventional way. But we did book club, and we did 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and we would do things. But the one thing, he had such a good rigor of how he handled leading me, because he knew I was different. He knew I was built different. He knew I was wired different, all those other things. So we would do something at the end of every session, at the end of every call. He'd go on calls with me. We had to do 35 cold calls a day in person, door to door. We were selling office furniture. And I had the I-94 corridor going from Maple Grove all the way up to Monticello. And then we would stop in all those. And when we would do the call, I'd screw something up or I'd crush it, one of the two. And I was young, and we'd get back in his car and he'd say, all right, what are 2 things you did great? What are 2 things you did terrible? write them
Mm.
down. And we did that after every single call. And then we started to look at trends. And then we started to look at just like, all right, maybe change the verbiage on this, or maybe, when you're walking up to a gatekeeper, maybe you need to approach it this way. And I mean, just the sales 101 stuff that he took me under his wing and taught me was key. And then the other thing that he always reminded me of is that this is a get to job. Sales, you get to do sales. You don't have to do sales. You get to do this job. I think, I think there are 2% of the world that can effectively sell, like are really good salespeople. That is a very small number. And I took great pride there of the fact that I wanted to be in that 2%.
What you just said, and I hope people go back and listen to that, because that was a master's class really quickly on mindset around what you do, how you do it, the way you
Oh,
let people
totally.
in. Because what you started off with is you let some guy in that you're a 20-year-old, he's a 60-year-old. What are you going to teach me? And you thought more of it as, what am I going to learn, instead of what are you
Yeah.
going to teach me?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Can you pinpoint
I
that
don't
at all?
know,
Or that
man.
just is?
I just think it is. I think, so all the things I lack in IQ, I think I make up for in EQ. And so I think I think, not to toot my own horn, but I
Yeah.
think I'm a dipshit when it comes to college and all that other stuff. But when it comes to like reading people and being emotionally intelligent and really at the end of the day, if I'm just going to dumb it all down to common sense, I think I just have a heightened level of common sense. And I think something in me was like, okay, this is a huge opportunity that I have here. I went from being a laborer running a printing press to then now being able to have free reign of a territory and very little training, but yet a great mentor. Do not squander this opportunity
Mhm.
and capitalize on it. And I kind of looked at it as like this is the first stage in the rest of my career.
When you didn't go to college, I got to ask this too, because I just look back kind of the same path, right? I struggled through 3 colleges and finally found it. And
Mm-hmm.
but I felt less than if I didn't go to college. Did you ever feel that? Or was it just you knew it wasn't for you, so you didn't?
Yeah, that's a super. I haven't thought about that in forever. I would
Yeah.
say the biggest thing is there's probably the social pressure of being a
Yeah.
18, 19, 20-year-old person and all your buddies and high school friends. So, I think probably and I don't know if this was the best thing for me, but I did it, is that I kind of separated myself from all my high school friends and I just made new friends. And I think those friends were the ones that started to help shape kind of my journey too, because a lot of them were in sales. I started building, one of my best friends now is a guy named James Loeffler, who's the president of Loeffler Companies, which is a,
Mm.
$300 million company. That we were in our 20s, he was slinging printers and copiers. This is even before they had IT services, which is they're most known for now. So he was slinging printers and copiers. I was slinging office furniture, and we were just a couple of sales guys. And now, we both run companies and are in our 40s. Like, to me, that is the coolest kind of people that I wanted to be around. And it was a blast.
Well, that shows right there too. Somebody like that and somebody like you, that you're slinging copiers and now you're the president of that
No kidding.
copier.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not, and again, not here to knock college, because that is for people. I'm a true believer.
Mhm.
College, you grow up, you find friends, you figure out life, you do all these different things, but it doesn't have to be the end all. You can do that by exactly what you're saying, is figuring out your path and the people you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Essentially, is what it
Yeah.
comes down to. So,
Yeah. I think I was about 4 years behind though from a maturity standpoint, because of the fact that I didn't go to college and I didn't really, I figured it out on my own. I bought a house when I was 21.
wow.
It was a small little house in Coon Rapids, but I wanted to buy a house. And so I did some of the things that I needed to do I just grew up a little faster in that respect
Yeah.
of like owning a home and some of the financial things. But on the other side of things, I think from a maturity standpoint, it took me a little bit longer. So I just needed to grow up. And I don't think I really matured until I was probably 24, 25.
Did that come from, because you look at your dad being printing press, right? And you had the entrepreneurial. Did you just find that over time, or was that ingrained in you as a kid as well? If you want it, go after it. Or again, did you figure that out by yourself?
Well, one, work ethic was huge. My dad was an incredibly hard worker, and I mean, if I look back on everything, my dad got me ready for the real world just through attitude and effort, right? And so it was very much like, you work harder than everybody else. But then, one thing he always said, and I think he kind of looked at his trajectory of running printing presses and stuff like that, and maybe squandering some opportunities that he maybe had in front of him. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And he always said that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I always kind of shoved that in my back pocket too. And it was like, all right, like relationships are key. And that was one of the things that I was kind of doubled down on as I grew up too.
Do me a favor and take the humble out of the equation here for a second, because I want to ask you about your work ethic. Because you can tell just by, you can't fake the things that you're saying. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
you speak it, you can tell it's just who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I look at it like this: the best of the best, when they talk like that, it's because they've been through it, they've done it, and they can help others with it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Your work ethic. Tell me about that a little bit. When you look at, and maybe it's what time you get up, maybe it's the things you do, maybe it's even the chances that you've taken. Because I know you spoke to me about that in the past too. How many thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars you dumped into a business? That's work ethic. That comes from somewhere.
Mhm.
Like, just kind of speak to that work ethic that you have, if you will.
I don't know, man. I think I just, if you look at, I always look at business in an assimilation with football, the NFL in particular, or college, whatever. But, like, I think, you look at these defensive linemen or these defensive players that they have and I'll use air quotes, motor, and they're just
Yeah.
don't have a motor that does not stop. My motor doesn't stop. Like my energy does not stop. My motor does not stop. And so I have to use that energy and that motor and this kinetic energy that I've got building up inside of me, and I have to either use that for something, or it's going to drive me insane. And so, I took it easy, quote unquote easy, this last summer, and I only worked about 40 or 50 hours a week, where now I'll start to get into wintertime and I'll crank it back up to like the 60, 70 hours. And I'm not saying that because I work all these hours, stuff like that. That is the shit that makes me so happy, because I love like grinding. But I also needed to take a little bit of a reprieve. We talked before we jumped on the air of like, you've got your quote unquote Donna. I have my Emily. You have your new person that helps kind of just make things. I just feel like we've built a good team, so I was able to back off a little bit. But I think my normal is probably a little bit more than an average person, and then my slowdown is probably more like a normal person.
Well, you flat out said it. What you can control is your attitude and your
Yep.
activity. Your
Yep.
energy is your activity. It's what you're doing on a daily basis. And
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, you thoroughly enjoy what you're doing, and you've built something pretty cool at the same time.
It's a get to business. Like, I think
Yeah.
I've been pretty fortunate to have, I went through probably a few years when I transitioned out of my business that I had before this, to where I didn't love what I was doing, and I was kind of grinding a little bit too hard, and not loving it anymore. But other than that little window, that was a very short window. That's probably 2 years in a long time. Everything else is a get to business. Like, everything else I've been able to do is a get to. I don't have to do anything if I don't want
So, okay, so speak to that a little bit. When you transitioned from that, what you were doing, does it, you were still getting to, because you're still doing it, you chose it, to what, how did the concept or what have you take effect for Coalition 9? Just kind of tell me the evolution of that.
Yeah, so I was at that company selling, and then I got into leadership. I was in my late 20s. They made me a vice president. I worked there for a couple years as a vice president running a $20 million company, and then I realized I'm not good at working for someone. I'm good at, going back to the whole problem with authority thing. And I met a guy, Joel Peterson. He was looking for a partner, and he was looking for someone to kind of a partner in crime to help him grow his business. So I jumped from that company, S&T. I jumped over a company called iSpace Environments, which is a big company here in the Twin Cities, that I'm very proud of the fact that I had an impact there. So I was probably early 30s, 30, 31. Went over there, became a partner and an owner of that business. And we grew that business from 8 to 10 million, all the way up to about 50, 55 million, went from 12 to 127 people. So, when I meet people now, I ask, and they say they want growth. I want to know why. And I don't think we really knew why we wanted to grow. I think Joel knew why he wanted to grow. I think he had a light at the end of the tunnel that he was searching for, and he wanted to have some generation changing money that's going to help his kids and all that other stuff. My wife and I, we don't have kids, so for me, it's what do I want to get out of this experience? And frankly, as we got big, I just didn't have fun anymore. Like, it just was not fun. It was like, it was work. And, we're dealing with more systems and process and way more details. And, I'm the type of person that my emotional side probably kicks in a little bit too much. But, when you've got 127 employees, take that number times 4. And that is the amount of lives that you're responsible for, because the person that you're managing or you're leading also has a significant other and 2.2 kids. Right. And so, that put a lot of pressure on me. And finally, I was at a point where I'm just like, I just think I need to do something different and I need to get out of here. So as I was walking to go to have a 4-hour meeting with my partner to ask him for a divorce, I made the decision that I didn't know what I was going to do. I just didn't want to be there. And I wanted to move on, and I wanted to do something totally different. I did not want to get back into interiors, and I just needed to start a new chapter in my life. And I think, if I'm being honest with myself, I was having a freaking midlife crisis at 40 years old. So it was all kind of coming down on me.
All came together. I love it. It's true. We go through it and we try to figure out what the heck.
Yeah, man.
I never thought about leadership the way you said it, though. When you said it's not just them, you multiply that by 4, because now you have their spouse and the 2.2 kids. So it's not just this person that you're helping out. That's the ripple effect around people.
Yep.
Typically,
we just so many people are so good at compartmentalizing that and separating that from. Nope. I just don't. I can't. I think I run way too hot emotionally, and that is a gift and a curse. And so I think it just got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I just feel like this business is going to be in better shape moving forward. I think I was the right person to help that business grow. We went through 2 acquisitions. I was probably a little bit more the culture person. I was probably a little bit more on the sales and marketing and the fluffy side of things. I didn't touch finance, but I touched everything. My hands were in every single thing else. And I think it just got to the point where I was just like, I got to go back to some small business and get my hands dirty again and get scrappy. And we just didn't have the capability or the capacity to be scrappy anymore.
Well, that's what it sounds like you truly enjoy, just based off your background, what you've done. Yeah, it's the building aspect of it. Yeah, that's the. How have you built Coalition 9?
So, when I was at iSpace for about 9 years, 8 or 9 years. And so I was in peer groups. I was in some of the more well-known ones in the Twin Cities. And I would do a year, 18 months. And then I'd be like, these are not my people. A lot of it was a little too much good old boy for me. So pretty male dominated, older white guys sitting around a table, usually pontificating about money and stuff like that. And, so I did a bunch of stuff. And so I tried consulting after I left iSpace. Okay. I did it for 2 years. I'm a horseshit consultant. The things that you and Jenny do are amazing that you can execute on that. My brain is just not wired on that. I worked with maybe 5 or 6 clients. Right. They all paid well. I think I delivered well. I hated it. I worked way too many hours for what the return on the investment was for me, because I had to make up for all my deficiencies of where I'm not good in the delivery aspect of things. Okay. And this Coalition 9 is a grass cutting idea. It takes me 2 hours to cut my grass. I was out there just kind of thinking about what does life hold for me. And I was in a very much of a reflective state because of the fact that I had left the other business and I was not loving what I was doing. And I thought to myself, well, I wonder if I could create something like this, like that in the Twin Cities that's just going to be different. And I tried building it in 2017, 2018 with a little bit of a sales focus on it. And I just wasn't having as much fun with that. And so I actually was thinking about just winding the whole thing down. I was like, all right,
Really?
I just think, I was really focusing on sales leaders,
Okay.
and it was really hard for me to find the right people with the right mindset that I wanted to have be a part of this, because at the end of the day, everyone was looking for some kind of silver bullet on how to just create more revenue, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted this to be more of a holistic workshop and group. And then the other thing about it I didn't love is that I created it and where that it only lasted a year. And then it was an end date, and then they moved on, and then we had to reload. And I didn't love that either. And so in 2019, I made the decision I was going to pivot and go right at what I would consider our competitors of some of the ones that I was a part of, and just go for leadership. But I wanted to take it and I wanted to do it different, because I wanted to flip the script on it on upside down. So
Okay.
pretty much all other organizations, they're a peer group leadership organization, and that's what they are. That's and they do a great job of it. I wanted to build a community first, where peer groups, events, and then an online presence is going to be what you get to be a part of. So it's more of a membership model, and
Yep.
there's pride of being part of a community. And so that's when it all kind of started. Was I hired a brand strategist to help me flesh out what I wanted it to look and feel like. I invested heavily into AI at the beginning and this is, 2019, 2020, just about to step our little toes into COVID. And so I was investing into AI and having a platform built, and it kind of just took off from there through COVID, because we built up the AI platform. We had if you're in startup world, you understand MVP, which is you had a minimum viable product. We had it ready to go. We had the brand strategy. We had some marketing in place. And it just in 2019, it just went slow. I mean, it was a grind. We built one group up. It frankly, it sucked, because it was white noise, and
Oh,
everybody was hearing, they knew all the other big names out there. They didn't know who Little
yep.
Coalition 9 was, and stuff like that. And then COVID happened, and we were so poised from a technology standpoint, from an online standpoint. And then I think the right people told their friends, and from that point forward, 2020, it just was gas on the fire, and we have not looked back. 2021, 2022, and into 2023, we were on a clip that was, I couldn't start groups fast enough to meet the demand. It was wild.
That is, and I'll speak to that too. That is I'm a testament to that. How I found out, and I found I was looking for something to be part of when I was leaving our past company, to be a group.
Mhm.
I wanted something that, because I was leaving a community, and my mind went to, how do I fulfill that? Like,
Mhm.
how do I find that again? And I wanted to find it. We're in Minneapolis, so I wanted to find it here. And I didn't, straight transparency, I didn't know Coalition was around. So I
Yeah.
started asking about groups. And Tim Olson said to me, you should, I just randomly talked to him one day when I was driving, and he said, you should try Coalition 9. And I got to meet you. And one of the things that goes back to you being a sales guy, you didn't sell me at all. And I was thinking about this conversation. We did a walk and talk in
Yeah.
Wyzetta, which to
Like that.
me
Yeah.
was one of the coolest things ever, because that's not normal. And right there, I knew this wasn't going to be normal, because it wasn't just the pay to sit down with the old dudes and talk about how great you are and how far you've come. It's a community. It's whenever I say Coalition 9 or somebody that's in it, the testament to you and what you have built is the smile on people's faces.
I'll
And
take that all
to
day.
yep,
Oof.
to me, that's what says it right there. Is if they go, I've never heard that. And people are so open to talk. And then the events, like you talked about as well, they're not normal as well. We did a cold plunge and then a sauna and a cold, like that's not
Yeah, it was
normal.
awesome.
Usually it's let's go to a
Yeah.
happy hour, and
Yeah.
it's things that really bring people together instead of let's go have a few drinks and go home type thing. And that's, and then even the meetings are just I know people struggle with it because it's 3 hours, right? And
Hmm.
half hour to get there,
Hmm.
maybe half hour to get back. And I struggled with that up front,
Hmm.
but I don't miss them. And I know
Yeah,
how busy we both are. And to me, that's a testament to you because of the leadership that you have and what you have built and the people you care about, that this is something that isn't normal, but is pretty cool at the same time. So the continuous efforts to build that, I just had to piggyback on that because if you, and again, I have a coach as well. So when people say,
mhm,
well, I have a coach, to me, you need both. You need the community and you need that,
totally.
yep,
Yep.
that type of
Yep.
thing too. That
I,
this,
I I say this all the time. So, business owners and leaders should have four things. Actually, I think they should have a peer group like a Coalition Nine, so industry agnostic, different leaders from different types of organizations, with different roles and responsibilities, but all kind of in relatively the same kind of life journey and things like that. They don't all have to be CEO. I don't believe that. That I believe everything we do with Coalition Nine is to eliminate the echo chamber. So a bunch of CEOs in a room talking about CEO shit is going to create a little bit of triangulation, is going to create a little bit of an echo chamber. Same with CFOs, or same with directors, or same with sales leaders. So,
yep,
the four major parts of business of revenue, finance, operations, and human capital should be represented within the group. I think looking at things from a business standpoint, where the smaller businesses are going to keep the larger businesses scrappy, and the larger businesses are going to have more systems and process that should rub off on the smaller businesses. So there's some learning that should happen there. But then, so there's all that. All right, I could talk about that stuff all day.
love
But
that.
then also, you got to have a coach. A one-on-one coach is going to be able to address things at a more deeper, intimate level, one-on-one, that you can address in a 3-hour session with a cohort of 9. Some type of operating system. So whether it be EOS or Pinnacle or Scaling Up or Gazelle or whatever the
Yep,
operating system is, something just to make sure that you're structuring your business and everybody understands the vision and where you're going. And then some type of industry association that's related to exactly what you do, so you can get best practice data. You can be in a peer group maybe with people that own businesses exactly like yours across the country, so that you're really looking at things from a detail standpoint in your business. If you can do those four things and you can invest in those four things, it's going to significantly positively impact your business. I
that,
mean,
and it
it's
goes
proven.
back.
I live it.
It goes back to what you said about the way, and you breezed right past this, but your study group, your book group, your
Mhm.
what have you, when you were learning sales, it's
Mhm.
the best of the best consistently develop themselves.
Mhm.
And what you just said, peer group, coach, operating system, industry association, that is surrounding yourself with people that are going to, and I get that maybe not everybody can pay for it, but there are people there that can help you out and you can find that. Like that's,
Totally.
I mean, I even look at C9 that it wasn't like other groups where it's 20, $30,000 a year,
Yeah. Right.
but you have some of the best. When you just described, there's a president of in my group, a president of a $300 million company, been there
Mhm.
since day one.
Yep.
There is a smaller PC company, opened it, started it, has 10, 12 employees now, like is on the cusp of just breaking out. And then you have the consummate entrepreneur that is just go, 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 go. And then you have the internal leader as well. So it covers all of those things that you just talked about. It's not just, hey, sales guy or CEO, do what I do because I say this is the way to do it. You're learning from so many people. So it's practice what you preach. So
And
cool.
I think going back to the comment you made about, like, I didn't sell you anything. I mean, that is 100% our style. Like, one, this from being in sales for so long. Like, you're not going to talk anybody in anything that they don't want. And
Nope.
so you'll pick up on that in a conversation. And if I feel like somebody is like getting it and they understand what this can provide them, value is perceived. The value that we what we charge for this should be, people should look and be like, this is stupid. Like, it's not the money, it's definitely the
Yeah.
time. And so, can you see yourself dedicating the time to go to the events, to be a part of your group? And if people can really, at the end of the day, if it comes down to people can envision themselves thriving in that environment and enjoying the time that they're being there, and then also getting a hard ROI of maybe a few more at bats of maybe some new business that might come in out of the community. That's fine. But then the biggest thing is the soft ROI of what are the things they're going to get they're going to get out of the investment that they put in from a time and a financial standpoint. Those are consummate C9ers. Those are people that are going to thrive in the environment for years. And that's, our first group that we started in 2019 is still together. I mean, it's been 6 years.
Wow.
And that group is still the group that we started with.
I remember something you said to me about it too, and this holds true in anything, that you're not in this because we get into it to, let's call it networking groups, and this is not what I correlate with that. You can, but I don't, to me, that's not how I view it. And you said you're not here to sell people stuff or to sell people stuff in your group. And to me, that was a testament of how you wanted to have this and the way we should build relationships. And from there, really good things happen.
Yep.
And I think that goes back to the sales thing. When I said you didn't sell me, you just built a relationship and then it was my choice. But that's also abundance too. It didn't matter. I mean, don't take it wrong. It didn't matter if I joined or not. I know you cared, but
yeah. But I'm not going to, nothing I say is going to sway your decision. Like I'm going to tell you about what the experience is going to be being a part of C9. I'm going to paint you the best possible picture I can. But that picture is only going to be, you're going to look through it. You're going to look at it through the lens you want to look at it through. And you're either going to say, all right, this looks like an awesome opportunity. I'm excited about this. Or be like, this isn't really for me. And sometimes the people, they realize it's not for them. And then one of the greatest gifts I get is all of a sudden a year later, I get this random email and it's like, hey, I remember our conversation about C9. I'm ready to go. And that is like, okay, I'll take it because that person made the confident decision that was the right fit for them at that time. And I'll take that because that means they're going to stay with us longer and they're going to have a great experience the whole time they're with us.
Well, it goes back to people don't like to be sold. They like to buy, but they don't want to be sold. It's really 100%.
Yep.
So
yep.
I love it.
Man. Yeah.
And I got to go back to this too, because you've touched on this, just your self-awareness around what you do and how you do it. Is this just, again, a product of what you have? Because you talked about failures too. And I don't want to put you on the spot and say, what are some of your biggest failures? Because that's hard to write on but your self-awareness, where does that come from? Is that a way you grew up type of thing? Is that you've learned it from other people that you're just open-minded enough to take that from people?
I don't know. I remember Joe asked me that when so I think something switched in me in my mid 20s. Like I think I became way less selfish and way less focused on when I became less focused on my success and knowing that the success of others is going to impact me positively, that in my leadership journey was a huge part of it. And then two, I just think my curiosity is next level. Like I feel like my common sense matched with my insatiable curiosity, which is one of our key beliefs as part of Coalition 9, which I wanted to have C9 be a little bit of a culture that I would want to be a part of. I just like asking a lot of questions. I like introspective work. I like looking inward. I like reflection, like all of those things. I think that all just kind of fuels all of those things. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there's a silver bullet for it. I just think that I'm always kind of a little bit of a student of myself.
How has your curiosity served you over the years?
Because it's everything, man.
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah. I mean, that's why I started, same reason you probably started your podcast. I mean, I just love, I host a podcast where I interview only C9ers. And I typically go for people that, besides you'll be on soon, but people that aren't really out there and aren't on LinkedIn and they need their story told. I like asking dumb questions that typically, people wouldn't ask when I first meet them. I probably asked you some weird shit when I was walking with you, but I think I'm a little unapologetic, and I always kind of come to the terms that it's a 50-50 deal. I mean, 50% of the people are going to like you, 50% are going to be like I'm good, and I'm fine with that. And so to me, if I can just sometimes I ask questions that make people uncomfortable or a little bit awkward or whatever, but that's their choice to answer it or not. But I just feel like you get so much out of just asking so many open-ended questions. And that's probably why I love sales so much, is because I could
Yep.
just ask a bunch of dumb questions, and I knew somewhere in as I sort through the data, I'll get some answers.
I just the same thing that you just being curious about people and
Mhm.
what makes them tick and how they got to where they are and the things they've done well and not done well and all that you just learn. You may not take all of it, but you're going to learn something and you're going to go, wow. Like it
Yeah.
just, when you let it
Yep.
in, it rubs off on you. And it's,
Yep.
if you're, again, when you're listening to this, if there's one thing that I would encourage you to incorporate is just ask questions and shut up, shut up and
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah. Totally. I mean,
Because
it's
you can,
there,
yeah,
and I almost make it a little bit of a competition in my head of like, did I ask more questions than that other person? Because I meet some damn good question. Some
yeah.
people that you're one of those people that you just ask a lot of questions, and you were curious about C9, and we went on our walk, and I mean we probably could have walked for a whole nother hour, and
Oh,
we had a
for
pretty
sure.
good clip going, and it was a nice cool morning, so that's my jam. But like I think you have to get so curious that in some cases, if you really want to get to the root of things, like sometimes it's just you gotta go places that people won't typically go. And if it's the same old BS that people bring up in business conversations, you're just going to be another number in their how many people did I meet tally for the week.
That's just it. Instead
Yeah,
of, it's funny you say that because I used to look at that doing sales. That was the thing. It's like, how many tick marks did I get today? Instead
totally.
of actually how many people did I talk to? It really talk to, because that's
Yep.
what matters. And then you build that relationship from year after year after year and care about them and just let them know you care about them too at the same time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so where's
Yeah.
where do you go from here? What's the future look like for you?
I'm pretty unapologetic that this is
Yeah,
this is a lifestyle business.
for
So
sure.
I don't really want to take this and scale it to the United States. I'm really passionate about focusing on Minnesota, maybe border states of like North Dakota, South Dakota, in some of those Fargo, Sioux Falls, Des Moines city centers. But other than that, I think I want growth to be pragmatic. Right now, as we sit, we have 27 groups. We have 268 members, along with 19 community supporters, organizations that support Coalition 9. And so you put all that together. I think we've got a really good basis. My goal is to get us to 400 members by 2030,
Okay.
which I think is a really good. If you look at my vision board, that's our vision of what we want to do with that. We put on 12 events per year. Emily and Brenda are the two primary people that we have on our team that make these things come to fruition. And Brenda leads marketing communications. Emily is our experience coordinator. So she manages from a hands on perspective the member experience and also runs all of our events. So I've got people that are helping carry this load, but also Emily's a mom first, and Brenda is my sister-in-law, and I want to make sure that we have a good work-life integration taken care of for her too. And so I think building the community the right way. I feel like when I feel pressure, I feel the community feels pressure. So if we're adding 4 groups in a year and it's like, okay, this is a little bit too much, I feel like we need to pull back on a little bit. I'll only add 3. And so I'm good with like pragmatic growth and thoughtful growth. Really cool aspect of what we have done in the last year is that we've got our peer groups, we've got the events, we've got the online platform for members, but now this year we launched our foundation. So I think philanthropy was always going to be something that we needed to make sure that we were giving back to the community that has given so much to us. And so the C9 Gives Foundation is a 501c3 foundation. It is the charitable arm of Coalition 9. We have a 5-person board. Our board chair is Avi Alitsky. We have Gario Harrison, Laura Cohen, and Becky Lewis on our board as well. And the whole mission for that is to have a positive impact on the small business community for emerging growth businesses in the Twin Cities. we focus on partnering with other nonprofits that have a member base of people that need the service that we can provide. And so we're going to crawl, walk, run with that. And so as we're crawling here this year, we're just building up the foundational aspects of what the foundation is. Use that word too much there, but it is foundational. We want to make sure that we're providing mentorship opportunities, utilizing the Coalition 9 member base as mentors and mentees. We want to provide some educational opportunities moving forward and this goes to anybody. This is just not for C9. So as we build this up, we want people to be able to apply for this and become a part of it. And then we also, at some point, as we build up more financial reserves, we want to give financial assistance for certain things that people may need, whether it be for coaching, or it could be for a laptop, or it could be for anything. As people are starting to get a business up off the ground, I want C9 Gives to be one of those organizations that they look to be able to ask for help and resources to help them get to the next stage.
I love it, man. That is the things that you have created over time and who you have become and what you are. I really have to reiterate this, that you weren't that person 20 years ago.
No.
So it's not an overnight thing, but it's what you've put into play and who you've surrounded yourself with and the way you've seeked it out instead of just thinking it's going to come to you. And now you just continue to build upon that foundation. Would you have thought 5-10 years ago you'd have almost 270 members and on the way to 400 in a nonprofit foundation?
No,
I mean,
no, man. Like, I just think life does so many different, I think I'm a little bit of I think I probably look at life a little bit differently too. I think you've got, you look at life experiences, they help shape who you are. I don't ever want to squander anything. So 10 years ago, definitely not. 10 years ago, I probably thought I was still going to be at iSpace forever, if I'm being really honest with myself. 5 years ago, when we were getting this thing up off the ground, I would say I would have been happy with 7 or 8 groups. And then if I had to just fill up some gaps from a financial standpoint or income standpoint, I probably would do some shitty consulting and probably be fine, but be kind of miserable. You just never know where life takes you, and I just happen to make some. I don't know if I believe in luck as much. I just believe that luck is when you capitalize on opportunities, right? You just see opportunities different than some other people, and so I think I just got in a position to where I saw something that was starting to take off, and I just doubled down on it.
Well, it's that when you say opportunity, it's that when somebody else is doing or something like it, or you saw it cutting grass and you're like, why can't I do that? I can do that.
Yeah, that's the entrepreneur. So I think entrepreneurs, they do you have two kinds of entrepreneurs. You got entrepreneurs that come up with an amazing idea that nobody's ever done. They take it and they blow it up, right? I look at one local company, Sports Engine. My buddy Carson was one of the founders. Anybody who's got kids is trying to schedule all the crazy ass things that they got to do with their kids for sports and stuff like that. They probably use NBC Sports Engine. Well, they grew that business. I met those guys when there was 6 of them in a shitty little office off Kennedy Street in Minneapolis, and I sold them office furniture. And they grew to have 300 people, and they sold NBC for triple digit millions. Huge success story. That's great. Then there's entrepreneurs like myself that take a really good idea and just make it better or put their own flavor on it. And to me, that was the direction that I wanted to go. And I just felt like something was a little bit ripe for disruption.
I am going to hit that, and I'm going to hit that hard, because that's one of the things, and one man's thing, that held me back for years and years, that I thought entrepreneur, you had to be somebody who thought of an idea and put it into play. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm not that smart. How the hell am I going to find out an idea? And the other facet of what you just said, it's not the idea that you have to come up with this new widget. It's, I see something that's going well. I can take that and run with it on my spin, and I can really create something there.
It's so, you traveled a lot more. You don't travel as much now, but so you travel quite a bit. And when you're traveling, you have a choice for a car ride share of Uber and Lyft. And Uber was Travis Kalanick came up with the idea. It was an amazing idea. He's a little bit of a psycho, so it had a little bit of a hard time with the dev side of things. Well, here comes sneaky little Lyft on the backside, and I
Yep.
think if I go use rideshare anything, it's Lyft, because Lyft has got a better user experience in the app. Their drivers are more compensated, so they're happier drivers. All of that stuff. It's the Uber Lyft dynamic that I think that is a perfect example of, like, take something that's good and just make it great.
Well, even take that a step back. They had taxis. So talk about, like, if somebody said that,
Right.
well, we already
Right.
have taxis. Why would anybody use a car? A car?
Right.
It's
Right.
the evolution of things that you're
Totally.
just the same thing you're doing with Coalition 9 is you took a concept, you made it your own, and now you're building upon it, and now you have a foundation. Who knows what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years?
And the key is don't get lazy. Stay focused and don't get lazy, right? And the second that you lose focus and you start getting your dirty little mitts and all this other shit that doesn't even have anything to do with what you do, you're going to start to lose members. And then if you start to get lazy and you start to rest on your laurels and you just rinse and repeat things from year over year, it's going to show, and people are going to see right through that.
Yep.
People are very smart. And so our sponsors, our community supporters, we need to make sure that we're always, changing and making sure that they're getting value out of the investment they make. And we also, and people like yourself that are our members, we need to make sure that we're evolving the experience so that it's not just the same old, all right, I'm going to sit there for 3 hours, I'm going to go through these things. We're already talking with our facilitators. We have a team summit on September 30th. We're talking about some of the things that we're going to be doing for next year we're not going to rock things too much, but we just got to push the envelope a little bit that keeps things on the cutting edge so that we don't get lazy and somebody else comes and passes us up. It is not going to happen.
When you think of something, go, well, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, you shift a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you build upon things. So thank you so much for being on here. And I'm going to say, I don't know the best way to find you, but I know Coalition 9. I know, how would people find you and Coalition 9? Because to me, this has been invaluable. It really has.
Thanks,
the
man.
people I've met, and just when I speak to it, I smile when I talk about Coalition 9, and that is a lot on you, and then the group I have as well, and then the events too. So it's everything together. But how do they find you?
Well, let me just say something before I talk about that. Is I was talking to Tom Holleran, who's your facilitator, and he's an EOS guy, and he was part of the grinder team, like awesome guys, part of our team, and he specifically pointed you out 2 weeks ago when we got together. We did a one-on-one. We talked over every single person in the group, and he specifically said is like you should talk to Brent about what he's got going on. Watching that guy grow over the last year and what he's doing with his business with Jenny and how they've made that pivot, like you should be really proud of yourself, man. Like what you're doing with Limitless and what you're creating and some of the things that we talked about that I don't even know are public that you're going to be coming out with in the future. Like that's the shit that gets me up in the morning, is hearing those stories that fueled me for the rest of the week. Right. So kudos to you for leaning in on it and taking advantage of the investment that you're making in both personal and financial.
But it is, it's a lot of Coalition 9 where it's talking through things and somebody's saying, all right, what's your one thing? What's your one thing? What's your one thing? And it's knowing that you are committing to people sitting around you that they're going to ask you the next time, and they're going to ask you again throughout that month too at the same time, what's your one thing? So, and what are you doing? So
yeah.
All
right, good, man. All right, I just want to throw that in there. So people can, I'm LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. Full disclosure, I'm horrible at LinkedIn messages. So like if let's just connect and let's just start there, baby steps. Coalition9.com, COALITION, the number 9.com. That's also on LinkedIn. And then, whatever else. I don't even know if there's anything else out there. If there is, I probably don't check it.
It's pretty simple. Type in Coalition 9 and you're going to find it. It's not really rocket science here. So thank you for being on here. This is
thank you for having me.
I truly appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. We hope today's conversation inspired you to think differently about leadership, not just in your career, but in every part of your life. Remember, leadership starts with leading yourself first. It's about taking action, making bold decisions, and showing up with purpose. Now, It's time to take what you've heard today and put it into practice. Whether it's in your business, your community, your family, or your own personal growth, start leading without limits. You have the power to become the leader you're meant to be. Until next time, keep pushing your boundaries and leading with purpose.